Being part of the ISV Connect program helps our visibility with Microsoft sellers, which in turn helps us when we're introduced to new partners.
It has accelerated our entrance into new markets, and our product is developing with higher quality and at higher speed than it would otherwise have.
Things like ISV licensing, handling our licenses just like any Microsoft first-party applications. We see that as a big benefit.
What ISV Connect program introduced is very different level of confidence with our customer. And with the Microsoft expanding the program, we are expecting to grow our ISV portfolio significantly.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another installment of ISV Connect Live. I have Mark Rogers. It's a pleasure to welcome Mark Rogers from Impartner on the call today with me. Before we get started, let me do a quick round of housekeeping items, just in case you've never come across this before. So my name is Brian Galicia. I lead our business applications global ISV team for BizApps, Dynamics 365, and Power Platform. And every Monday, or at least we try to every Monday at 8 o'clock West Coast time, we try to use this opportunity to highlight some of our amazing global or area ISVs that are part of our business applications ecosystem, what we refer to as AppSource. And so today is no different. We have an amazing partner, Impartner, joining us today. And we'd love to hear where you're watching from. So throughout these dialogues, if you just want to type in where you're watching from, Mark's taking this from Utah. I'm doing this from Seattle, Washington. Maybe you're from Europe. Maybe you're somewhere in Canada. Maybe you're even in Asia and you're staying up really late. Welcome. We appreciate you taking the time to spend with us to learn more. The second is that throughout the dialogue, there's always an opportunity to ask questions. So you can use the same LinkedIn comment experience. If you have a question, feel free to put that in the comment window. And usually we have time at the end where I can ask one question of Mark and we can get that question asked in real time. We also encourage you to type, to utilize one of the emojicons, either like, celebrate, etc., because that also gives Mark and I awareness and visibility to the content. Is the content actually resonating with the people watching? So that being said, Mark, gosh, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for taking the time on a Monday in mid-July to actually spend time with me. So why don't we spend a little bit of few minutes talking about what do you do at Impartner, and what's one thing, one of my favorite questions I always ask all my guests are, what's one thing not on your LinkedIn profile that you're open to sharing with just the vast array of people either watching live or maybe come across this recording?
Indeed. Brian, thanks for the opportunity. It's great. Our partnership with Microsoft is the most valuable partnership we have. We are a company that is growing very, very quickly, a SaaS firm that focuses and doubles down on Microsoft Dynamics 365, and particularly on the sales side. I am the Senior Vice President of Strategic Accounts, as well as our channels, our partners. So I'm kind of sharing both direct and indirect, running that show. And my background has been that for the last 15, 20 years in executive positions in both sales and direct and indirect. At Akamai, before coming here, I was the channel chief for about 3 years. Prior to that, I was with a couple of startups. I was at Novell as the vice president of business development, and at Intel in a number of executive positions. And what I do here is what I did there. It's really about driving and scaling business and delighting our customers through our partners, and of course, obviously, from a direct perspective as well. So, this is a lot of fun. It's a great space to be in. And what we do is we focus completely on enabling and accelerating the success of channels, indirect side of the equation, for companies in many, many different industries. It's a lot of fun.
I love it, Mark. And I think throughout the dialogue, I think you hit spot on, because there's so many scenarios, especially with potentially customers listening to this or buyers listening to this, is that it's the direct and indirect channels. Hey, that's a good segue. What you said you just did at your own company is exactly what a lot of companies have to deal with, is how do you deal with the direct and indirect selling model and the channel side. So before we get into the depth of the dialogue, maybe describe again, what's one thing, just so people get to know you a little bit more, What's one thing not on your LinkedIn profile that you're open to sharing?
Boring thing would be I'm a connoisseur of Swiss watches and a collector. That's boring. But I'm also a runner, and so is my wife, and we have made it a habit to literally run in every city we visited, all throughout the world, which has been a lot of fun. My father used to always talk about, leaving a mark on the world. Unfortunately, one mark I left was just outside of the Marble Arch, in Hyde Park. As we were running, I didn't see that there was a brand new, fresh, cement sidewalk that had been laid out. My wife, of course, as she ran across, it was like a little bird. You can't see anything but me, boom. So if you ever get a chance right outside of Marble Park and you see a mess, it was that I've been there. You can chalk that one up to me. Something that I'm not very proud of, but a little bit of fun there.
I love it. Now, well, next time you got me curious, Mark. Now I have to see is like, do I see waffle prints or some type of shoe prints in there? Like, oh, I know the guy that actually did that.
It looks more like a hand grenade, I think, unfortunately. But yeah, that's a little bit of fun.
Okay, I love it. So why don't we get to the meat of the dialogue, which is what does Impartner do? What are the business outcomes? And of course, when you think about, we kind of hinted to it with direct and indirect channels, or you'll hear the term partner relationship management, or PRM is kind of the industry term that we hear all the time. But give us a sense, Mark, like what do you do? What are the challenges you help to solve for organizations, particularly manufacturing, high tech, and others that have a channel and trying to drive value and solutions? So maybe spend a little bit of time of talking about those business outcomes you help to solve.
Sure, you bet. It's interesting to note that probably, very certainly, well over 70% of all transactions, regardless of the industry. It's very, very interesting how this works out. Those transactions are touched or driven by a third party, not just by a direct sales force. And we all know that it's impossible unless you are a Microsoft to be able to hire enough direct salespeople to really accomplish everything you're trying to do. It's very expensive to do that. And so often, very, very often, companies will augment their direct model in terms of how they touch clients with a third party. Those third parties will often provide very unique capabilities and a value proposition that will significantly augment your own. And so one of the things that we have noticed, and one thing that we all have seen, Microsoft being at the forefront of this, is a tremendous commitment to the channel. There are varying commitments. We know that in some cases. For example, when I was at Akamai, at first there wasn't a lot of focus on the channel. When I had the opportunity to come in, we had an executive team that was totally committed to scaling through third parties and ones that were the right profile. And that was something that led us to an awful lot of success. But what we do as a partner relationship management and through channel marketing automation SaaS solution provider is we essentially manage, optimize, and accelerate every aspect of engaging with a partner. We have over 20 million partner users that use our partner relationship management portal. Over tons of customers all over the world, enterprise size. These are companies like Splunk, McAfee, Sophos, FireEye, Honeywell, Hitachi, any number. Many of these, of course, we share with Microsoft. CommScope is one that I'll refer to in just a minute. Visa is another. The reality is that it is not an easy thing to be able to engage with a partner and be able to treat them the same way that you treat your direct salespeople, because you're not going to give them access to Dynamics, for example. That's not something that we would often see from a security perspective. So how do you provide the capabilities and the advantages that a CRM solution can offer to the direct sales team to sellers that are not direct, they're indirect? And this is where we come in. We front end, for example, the CRM, in this case, Microsoft Dynamics, and are able to then provide the ability to gain access or visibility to virtually every behavior, activity, result that a partner has, every touch they have when they engage with a client, a joint or a common client of yours, as well as your partner. And it's important to be able to create a unique experience so that that partner can access a CPQ solution just like your direct salespeople can. They can do that. A company, for example, great companies, joint partner of ours like Experlogics, or Aptus or Pros. These are companies wherein through our portal, the partner can gain the same direct access through an API, through iPass, whatnot, as if it's a seamless part, if you will, of the experience that they have, as well as receiving and leads that are distributed by companies to them. Through our portal, we can obviously register opportunities that partners bring to us. We can train, certify, enable those partners. We can move them quickly through the journey, what we call the partner life cycle, in terms of automating the journey that gets them to revenue, gets them to success faster than you could if you did not have a PRM. And so this is something that really is a meaningful, empirical way to measure the success, identify the right behaviors, and basically propagate those behaviors to accelerate the overall results of a partner as they engage, however you measure that, with a customer. When you think about customer experience and partner experience, we're all talking about CX today. Well, PX is every bit as important because the relationship you have with your partners directly impacts the customer experience. So our PRM solution is what actually works well, especially with Dynamics, to extend to all routes to market, sales routes to market, and touches with clients and customers. That whole journey of being able to, again, deliver to a client exactly what they need so that they'll continue to do business with you. Does that make sense?
Oh, totally, Mark. And I think there's so many people either watching live or this replay where this comes into fruition. Microsoft's a good example. I mean, we have thousands and thousands of globally partners like yourself. And how do you manage that interaction? And I love how you said same direct access, but in a secure way, because you're right. There's no company most likely that's going to give full CRM access to their indirect channel, partly because there's a lot of privacy sensitivity to the information, but there's certain things you don't necessarily need to have your indirect channel see. That's going to help drive the right type of joint outcomes. However, I love how you said the unique experience like with CPQ, because you're spot on. You have scenarios like, especially in manufacturing, where you have an indirect channel trying to quote a deal or quote a pursuit, and they need access to the same pricing information, the same discounting type of scenarios, the same packaging, like, okay, if I do this, can this apply? Can this apply? And that all surrounds CPQ. You need that. And I love how you said that you can give that unique experience to the partner indirect channel to ensure that you're driving those values. And so maybe a good follow-up question for people listening would be, what do you see people typically do, Mark? So before they come across Impartner, what do they do? I'm assuming it's Excel spreadsheet, or what are some of the things you've seen when someone is fully deployed or has deployed, like, for example, Dynamics, in these situations before they realize, oh my gosh, well, Impartner is a fantastic ISV that can complement this. What do you typically have seen people doing before they get to this type of amazing capabilities that you just described?
Well, unfortunately, we do see a lot of solutions that are built around a spreadsheet. That's good for Microsoft because you know whose spreadsheet that is. And there's incredible things you can do with spreadsheets. Nobody's arguing that. In this case, however, you think about this, though. How do you deliver? Companies think about, gosh, I'd love to be able to enable my resellers, third-party companies that can sell my product. I'd love to be able to enable them with a CPQ, or what if they're not a reseller? If you have a portal, and a lot of our customers in the past have built their own portals, they have very good development teams, but I mean, this is heavy, heavy lifting. Mm-hmm. So they provide, for example, access, let's say, to a CPQ, but if you're a service delivery partner, a systems integrator, if you're a managed security service provider that is, may not care about a CPQ, and they have the CPQ sitting there in their portal experience, they have no idea what it's there for. It confuses them. Yeah. What we try to do and what we're able to do is deliver a unique experience as if each user had their own portal and that is tailored to their specific needs. If they're an executive, if they're a seller, if they're a service delivery partner, they will only get the content teed up within their experience that applies to them. they will never, for example, get a price book in the UK if they're a seller in the United States. They don't need that. They're only caring about what the price book would be in the United States. So those are things that cannot be done through spreadsheets. Those are things that are very difficult to, you can bring in great systems integrators who will be happy to build that for you, but it's going to be very expensive, and it's going to be, it's not repeatable per se. This is why a SaaS-based solution that's very easy to use, easy to acquire, easy to consume, easy to implement, that's what we do. It's all out of the box. And instead of customizing, which is very common, where you can't really repeat a lot of the customization you do for a particular SaaS solution, it's better to have it self-configurable, self-service, so that the client themselves can do it themselves or rely potentially on a partner, but it's very repeatable. So these are some of the advantages. And again, contrasting what companies did in the past and what they can do now, it's night and day. And this is why we're growing so quickly.
Yeah, and I love the notion, Mark, because customizations versus configuration, that's a huge distinction. And when you can take a scenario like Dynamics 365 and configure it so that it meets the unique needs, and I love how you said, for example, simple example of you have an indirect channel that sells globally, but one indirect partner only sells to a certain market, and you wouldn't want to give them certain information that has nothing to do with what they do with you, or the role that someone plays. Like you would share if a CEO of an indirect company was looking at something, that experience is going to be slightly different than someone who's actually on the front lines working very closely with people in that organization. And that is so well said, because that's why we have ISVs like yourself, because it's repeatable IP. It's not something like a software integrator. And don't get me wrong, we love our software integrators here at Dynamics. However, to spend the hours and hours and hours to try to build something from scratch that then isn't repeatable or also isn't scalable, because what happens when you do an upgrade? What happens when you do all these things? Everything you just said, Mark, is one of the amazing reasons why we have a vibrant partner channel, not just SIs, but ISVs like yourself that can do these repeatable IP that's configurable, that meets the needs of an end customer. So that's a good segue into like, what's the experience been like? So Impartner's been around for a long time and been part of the ecosystem. So maybe you could share, I know you teased that on a little bit, and we appreciate some of that commentary that you mentioned in the intro, Mark, but maybe share with the experience for partners listening, like, what has your experience been like, the Impartner experience with Microsoft, and what has it meant in driving your growth together and driving that value to end customers?
Yeah, it's a great question. And for the most part, and overall, it's been very positive. Obviously, a company like Microsoft, if you're able to draft off of not just the brand, but the exceptional solutions that are provided to the marketplace in so many different ways. We built our product around .NET in the beginning, and 100% focused on the Microsoft space. We're Azure hosted. We're drinking the Kool-Aid. It's an interesting thing, because at the same time, you guys also have a great product. It's Microsoft Portals, which is now Pages and so forth. A lot of the challenge with that we faced with our engaging with sales teams, two things. One, there's a lot of focus on driving a ton of traffic on Azure. And while we do that, we may not be the size of, SAP or whoever who might do the same. And then secondly, also, when it comes to a portal is not a PRM. And I think in some cases, engaging with, our field sales counterparts at Microsoft, there's been some confusion. How do you stack up with Pages or Portals, et cetera, et cetera? Are you competing with this? And I can assure you, we do not compete. We significantly augment the dynamic sale and everything that you do in the Power App space. This is something that, it takes time. We need to train, we need to teach, we need to show experience. And we've had a number of great co-sell wins that have helped us do this. Most recently at Visa, that is right now just in the process of being done and locked up. CommScope, which is one we can talk about in just a second, which was a humongous win against your biggest competitor, where we jointly had the opportunity to come in and replace that solution with a all routes to market solution, direct, indirect, Dynamics 365 on the sales side as well as the Impartner solution. It was a fantastic win. I think one of the great things about being part of the ISV Connect program is the exposure to so many different, not only sales teams and so forth. You work with the SMC side, on the enterprise side, named accounts, and so on and so forth. We've had a great opportunity to engage with so many wonderful and very, very talented reps. They carry a lot in their bag. They have a lot to focus on. And one thing that's been great, though, is to be able to focus specifically on the dynamic sellers themselves, which we're, as you know, Brian, with your help, we're getting to that next level, which is where I really think we're going to get the best traction. At the end of the day, we're all into Microsoft, and there's no debate around that at all. And we're very interested in, of course, expanding our ability to leverage collaboration tools like Teams within our own, to really expand the overall value proposition in combination with Dynamics to really solve our common customers' challenges, which are immense right now. And the opportunity is unlimited.
Yeah, well, gosh, thank you for those kind words, Mark. I mean, we reciprocate that, because at the end of the day, we can't be successful without amazing ISVs like yourself growing in areas where we complement. I love how you denoted that, because sometimes there's either confusion or an assumption that, oh, well, because of what you guys do, it competes with us. Well, not really. I mean, there's certain use cases where very basic types of things, could you do with Power Pages? Absolutely. However, the robustness of everything you describe, especially the complexities of some of the things you talked about, which is a good segue into our second to last question of examples of organizations utilizing this. To your point of scale and some of the things you're trying to do, it would take so much time and effort to try to replicate all the amazing IP that you built out because you focus specifically on an indirect channel model. That's what you do. And you focus really on PRM and Pages. Power Pages, as an example, is a plumbing that allows someone to potentially do that. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't have all the amazing capabilities that your R&D team and your team all up has specifically thought about, as to, if you're a channel chief or an indirect person, how do you model something that's going to scale, that's going to meet the needs, that's configurable right out of the box, that then within weeks can be up and running, in tying that to your direct model.
Yeah, great point.
Yeah. So that's a good segue into, you mentioned a couple of really good examples. And I think maybe if you want to go deeper on CommScope, and just for those watching, we will run around a 4-minute video, which really provides an amazing testimonial of an end customer from CommScope, talking about the value that they received, not just from Impartner, but just the joint value with Microsoft. And to your point, like when you have a customer that undertakes the replacement of a existing tool and does their indirect deployment at the same time, she comments a little bit about that, and what an amazing conversation, because they were able to deliver and realize that value very quickly, even in the scenario of trying to do all these things all at once. So maybe, Mark, you can describe to the people listening some examples of all these great things you talked about. What are some of those tangible customer stories now? What are some of your favorite ones where you think about a manufacturing organization or a high-tech organization, or in this case, retail for a Visa? Maybe you can touch upon a few of them with the remaining 7 minutes we have left.
You bet. I mean, one of the things that's great about being in this space, and the fact that, like we said earlier, 70% plus of all transactions in one way or another are significantly influenced or driven through a third party and with a third party. We look at the CommScope example. I think you'll really appreciate, if you have a chance to watch this video, you'll see Melanie, who's just an exceptional executive, so plugged in to her customer base and how they consume, where value is really created. And no one company can create 100% of the value that their customers demand of them. The smart companies are the ones who can see that there are a lot of great solutions out there that we can incorporate within our stack, if you will, of value that we provide to a client. And CommScope is certainly one of those. In that case, for example, one of the things that was very important to them was to be able to deliver an end-to-end capability that allowed them not only internally, all the benefits we know of CRM internally to any one of our customers, as well as the ability to manage those on the third party side that are touching our customers. All of that is well known from an internal perspective. But what about the value to the client itself? How often do we assess our customers' preferences in terms of how they acquire solutions and how they, want to engage with us? This is something Melanie was an expert and is an expert at. And as she looked at the current solution she had, it was not one, and I should say altogether, it was not there was just too much focus and too much effort and money being spent on trying to get the internal side of it right. A great deal of focus on the IT organization and burden on the IT organization to make this solution really work to the point where customers were actually, visibly moved by the customer experience that they were being given, in this case by CommScope. In looking at the Forrester Wave, for example, Melanie and her team noticed that we were at the top and we were the leading PRM vendor. So much of their business goes through through channels that it was important for them to really get a very clear look at how, what was out there, what was in the marketplace that made the most sense. And also, as importantly, what do customers feel about those vendors that are out there providing? So G2 was a huge component of their assessment as well. And fortunately for us, we're very high up in the leadership quadrants for both, and we're very grateful and humbled by that. But at the end of the day, what it came down to is the relationship and the trust and the confidence and the trusted advisor roles that we were, in conjunction with the Microsoft sales team and the account team, were able to secure with Melanie and that team. It's, you buy from who you trust.
That's right.
We don't have all the answers. We're not going to stand up and tell somebody that we can do things that we cannot. We're not perfect. Microsoft is not perfect. As good as you are, you're not perfect. But that level of humility and the recognition and acknowledgement of what we can do well and what we still must learn, and the dependence upon other parties, other partners to help us get the job done, that was most compelling to CommScope. I'll let the video kind of share what some of the details or the specific use cases. But at the end of the day, we find that to be the case. When we work with Microsoft, there is a common bond, there is a common level of trust that is elicited and again, perceived by the customer as they watch us engage together. I think there's also a very honest understanding and an expression of the fact that when we cannot do something, we will tell you we cannot do it. But again, I'm not here to, talk about the virtues of our people. I'm simply saying that, these are customers who are willing to spend millions of dollars and willing to, take a risk with you. And if you don't recognize that, and if we don't do this, especially as partners, good luck to us, because we'll be a one-hit wonder. At the end of the day, in this case, you're talking about a company who had made millions of dollars investment in a particular company that was at least proposing that they could do it all. At the end of the day, it turned out that they could not. And when they turned to us, that is our combination of the Microsoft, and Impartner value proposition and the people who would support them. At the end of the day, that is where they turned. And it was a huge, huge win for us as partners, and especially for this customer. And I'll let that video kind of give more details. Just in the interest of time, however, I think that's probably sufficient to talk. That's where we are doubling down on Microsoft because of that type of relationship before the customer.
Gosh, well said, Mark. Because it all, in the end of the day, a lot of it just comes down to trust and relationship. It's like basic 101 in sales. Like, no matter what you're doing, if someone doesn't trust you and you're not delivering that value, then you'll never get to that point of scale. I love it because the virtues that you guys have as a partner align to what we do. Is like, we want to empower people, as you can imagine, to do more. And the way we empower people is that you have to build that trust and relationship, and that big value add. And that's great, because I think from your standpoint, what you just said, not just in the way you go about your business, but also how you're seen by analysts and reports, that goes a long way too, because to your point, you are the market leader as it relates to PRM. And that says a lot. And the fact that you want to partner with Microsoft to go deliver that end value to these joint customers is amazing. So I know we're at time. One of the things we can do is just what would you say kind of to wrap up, like call to action? Because we definitely, so for those of you listening live or maybe the replay, as I mentioned, we do have that amazing 4-minute video with a executive from CommScope talking a little bit more detail of what Mark was sharing. But Mark, maybe within a few less than a minute, you can talk about what are kind of, how do people learn more? What's a good way to reach out? Besides LinkedIn, of course, we're doing this on LinkedIn. So if you want to send Mark a note on LinkedIn, a message or a connection request, encourage you to do so, including myself. But what other things would you recommend as next steps, Mark, for people listening?
Reach out to me directly. That's first and foremost. I mean, that's what this is all about. And I think you have the contact information there embedded somewhere in the, and of course here you see, this is the Impartner, content that is within the Microsoft website itself. And, it's a lot of information in there. If you come to our impartner.com, you'll see an entire section dedicated to Microsoft and what we do with Dynamics. And in addition to that, as I mentioned, my email is very simple, mark.rogers, ROGERS, @impartner.com. And I will turn my team on and be very happy to engage with you and our team. This is something we do very, very well. Our priority for Microsoft is the highest. So again, you'll find very good response there, a very good response time. I promise you that. At the end of the day, I think, the one thing I would say is that when you really combine the value of the Microsoft Dynamics CRM solution with the Impartner PRM capabilities, along with our through-channel marketing automation, social on-demand, news on-demand capabilities, so many things that we come together in, the experience that we can provide to our clients, to our customers is second to none. And this is something that I can commit to you. We have a number of great reference customers that we can also work with you on and share and have them speak to you. But at the end of the day, this is a great way to really help our customers accelerate the success of both their direct, indirect, all routes, all sales routes to market. And we would love to have the opportunity to engage with Microsoft sellers, customers, all. We're just all in. So thank you for this opportunity, Brian.
No, my pleasure, Mark. And well said. I think, again, people take a screenshot of this or just write down the website. That's a great starting point. And to Mark's point, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn. And I appreciate the time, Mark. We truly, truly appreciate the partnership that we've driven together. Can't wait to continue to have this growth in our new fiscal year. I should have called out the fact that you are our first partner to kick off our new fiscal year, because I totally forgot that the last Monday was actually July 4th. So this Monday was actually the very first one to kick off our new fiscal year. So again, it was great to have you hosted on here. Encourage everyone to connect. And if you're SI, I think that's the other thing too, partner-to-partner relationships. Mark had mentioned a little bit about it, but if you're a software integrator doing deployments in a indirect channel model and doing Dynamics sales deployments, think about Impartner as a way to help scale and to drive those conversations. So thank you so much, Mark. I truly appreciate it. And everyone, thank you for watching. I will hit the play of this video. And again, take care. And thanks again, Mark.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Brian.
I know that Impartner is here for us today, and I know that Impartner will be there for us tomorrow. My name is Melanie Zavenbergen. I'm the Vice President of Sales Enablement for CommScope. CommScope shapes the networks of the future by helping companies around the world design, build, and manage their wired and wireless network infrastructure. CommScope solutions come to life in the customer environment via a network of thousands of partners around the world. Whether you're a distributor partner who's performing logistics services, getting our products from the factory floor to the customer environment, to an installation partner who's pulling the cable and terminating the jacks on the site floor, our partners play a critical role in bringing our solutions to life. For many of our partners around the world, our partner portal is the face of CommScope. We have two main goals for our partner portal. One is to facilitate process. The other is to build a relationship with our partners. Our partner portal was managed in-house and built with custom code. This presented a variety of challenges for us. Scaling, delivering a customized and personalized experience, and meeting the needs of an agile partner network of tomorrow is very difficult with an in-house custom-built system. It requires a lot of work, energy, and time to deliver the same experience that we found Impartner could do out of the box. They were with us from the start to help us identify how we could better target our customers and the individuals. We involved delegates from across CommScope right from the start as we were searching for a new portal vendor. IT, finance, legal, sales, executives, and our channel management team. We brought the key stakeholders together to make our final decision, and everybody was 100% on board. When we found Impartner, we were in the process of moving to the Microsoft Dynamics CRM platform. Originally, we were going to build a platform in Microsoft Portals. We were going to manage ourselves, and we thought we could do this. As we got into our project, we realized the complexity of building an in-house portal, and we just knew it wasn't going to live for CommScope's needs and future needs for our partners. We knew that we needed to partner with an industry expert. Impartner was one of the top recommended choices. We vetted Impartner against 2 or 3 of their top competitors. We actually did an in-depth review of their capabilities, their plans for growth, and where we saw them fitting with CommScope in the future. We may be a bit unique that we decided to do a full CRM transition into Microsoft Dynamics at the same time that we built our partner portal with Impartner. Anyone who's been part of a CRM transition project or a partner portal project knows that it's no easy task. It's actually a little scary. We, from the start, had to put a lot of trust in both Impartner and Microsoft, and we had to trust that they were going to work together extremely well with us, or we were never going to make our go-live date. From start to finish, our entire project took only 6 months. We've seen our portal usage dramatically increase. We were able to deliver a much improved user experience. We have dynamic dashboards, just-in-time information, and relevant information right at our partners' fingertips. The news on demand and social on demand modules within Impartner were 2 things that I was most excited about with this project. The news on demand allowed us to have a customized experience based on user profile and organization, and the social on demand allows us to engage with our partners and amplify the message of CommScope and our relationship across the world. We worked together right from the start to make sure that our CRM implementation was hand in hand with our Impartner build. We connected with the Impartner team from day one. You would join conference calls and it felt like a really big family. We had a lot of fun together, we laughed a lot, but we also worked really hard. You don't see that very often in this space. Those are the kind of people you want to get in the trenches with when you're doing a project like this. And I was amazed that we were able to do what we did. I know that Impartner is here for us today, and I know that Impartner will be there for us tomorrow.